Hello and welcome to day 4 of the 365 meditation challenge, 365-day meditation challenge, where I meditate for 1 hour every day in 2 sessions of 31 minutes. I give myself 1 more minute in case Sophie decides to eat some cables or nibble at my shoes. And she doesn't often do that, but sometimes I have to stop her to remind her that certain things are out of bounds. Speaking of out of bounds, we tend to create this prison as creatives. We tend to create prisons for ourselves due to the fact that we tend to focus and try to replicate the success we had with certain content, with certain creations. And the more we try to recreate that success, the more we are constrained by it because you've now constructed a recipe for your success. And if you outgrow that recipe, now you're like feeling you shouldn't be doing that anymore because you can do so much more interesting things. It's very hard to get rid of that. It's very difficult to be, for instance, uh, always positive person, a happy-go-lucky, jolly person that has a lot of energy to expand. It's truly difficult. And I've wrestled with this idea for a few weeks now. What do you do when you just don't feel like it? When you feel awful, when you feel drained, when you feel burnt out, when you feel like you just don't have the energy to output anything? What do you do then? What's when you are in that state? What can you do? Do you force yourself out of it? Do you have different habits, different rituals? Do you go for a walk? Do you do some meditation? What do you do to get rid of that feeling? I was deeply frustrated today by certain situations that happened that were outside of my control and they were directly affecting me. So it fueled this state where I didn't want to do anything because I was feeling punished, even though it's just a few things here and there. They are serious, but not that serious. It just reminded me of how easy it is to just get the short end of the stick. And yeah, sometimes the world throws some curveballs at you, and the only thing you can take from that is accept it and move on. It's very difficult to do, very difficult to get rid of that frustration and anger and just a deeply felt emotion of dissatisfaction with the world and with yourself. And I think it's very important to realize that this too is a passing moment. That's why meditation is so good at teaching you emotional resilience, emotional stability, because you start to focus back on your breath and you become present so that these emotions do not have such a big grasp on you. At the same time, while I was feeling frustrated and angry today, I was like, I'm starting to feel things so much more deeply. And I was so moved by the emotional state that I was in and noticing that I'm actually having this intense lived experience and I'm trying to get rid of it. Instead, I view it, it's like more now it transformed into this very not hectic but like jumpy excitement. Instead of being like frustration and anger, it moved into excitement, into like this giddy feeling, this, you know, fidgety excitement, like expectation for something better to happen. And just because I was like, this is so intense. And it was like, I'm really enjoying the intensity of this. I know it sounds weird to enjoy frustration and anger, but if you look at it and you're like, whoa, this moment is so intense. The emotions that I'm feeling right now, the intensity is like a roller coaster. So basically, imagine just going on a roller coaster. Whenever you have like a drop, you tend to be like, oh no. You're like, your emotions go like, whoo, so high. And you trust that nothing's gonna happen. And that's exactly what it is with frustration, with anxiety, with you just have to imagine yourself on a safe roller coaster, but with big swings. But then you're gonna be okay, now we're building up for something new. So if you think that you can be at 100% all the time, this energetic person, this untouchable beacon of positivity, you can't. Nobody can. It is truly impossible to be happy all the time, to be just serene, just have this inner peace all the time. No. We are human. We have complex emotions, complex lives, and we tend to go through swings. Good days, better days, good days, better days. But at some point, there are a lot of good days in a row when you feel like, whoa, this has been such a nice ride. No bumps, no roadblocks, no nothing. And then, boom, you hit the first roadblock. Even though you've passed so many roadblocks in your life, bigger, harder, and more difficult things to just survive. Now, this small little rock has entirely derailed your vision and your actions and the achievement that you want to make. And it's truly heartbreaking because you've had this streak of good days and now you're like slowly inching into a small and unsatisfying existence. But that's fine. It's part of life. And then you're going to go back up at some point. And even if you don't go back up, usually you just, at some point, you get bored of your misery. I know it sounds bad, but at some point, we do get used to it and we do get this, we just accept it and it's like nothing to us. We cannot remember what a good day felt like. We've all had this experience where we had so many bad days in a row instead of good days that we don't even know what a good day tastes like anymore. And it's the same way with good days. We don't know what a bad day, what an awful day tastes like, and when it comes, it's doubly effective on our emotional state because we've not practiced being bored of our own bad luck in life. And that's enough blabbering. I'm going to start the timer now. And there you go. The session is over. I got distracted by a coping mechanism that I have about when I feel very, very bad. I tend to diminish my emotions by telling myself and imagining scenarios that other people have lived and being so grateful that my problems are so small and so insignificant that I considered them important. And I immediately started to laugh because truly my problems are funny compared to what other people have lived. I do think this is a little bit by design and a little bit by luck. Design, I mean, because I have a hard time remembering all of the bad situations that happened to me because I just don't relive them. Most people think they are remembering their past experience when instead they hold on to that rage, that anger, that resentment for even 10, 20 years from the past event. And when they remember it, they feel the emotion at the strongest, exactly as if it was happening today, now. That is not remembering, that is reliving. And I was talking to a friend of mine and I was telling him, you are not remembering your past. If you were to remember your past in a healthy way, you would just narrate it like, oh, look, this is a glass. It has a white cap and it has a liquid, and it's been through some things, but it's fine now. It's been through some places and it's fine now. It sits on this table. So that's the emotional height, the emotional intensity at which you should tell a story that you are remembering, even though it was such an intense high, such an intense emotion, and very difficult situation. When you are telling it, you have to understand that and notice if you are telling it with the same what emotions is speaking. Do you speak out of the same anger that you felt then? Do you speak with resentment? Do you give this bad emotion a reignitement? And we tend to do that a lot. We tend to relive the same traumatic events over and over and over again, telling ourselves that we are making progress. But when the tone is still emotional, we are truly not remembering, we are reliving that emotion, that experience. And it's bad. It's as if you had a wound and you keep on scratching it instead of letting it heal. Don't touch it. I treat past events like wounds. I don't touch them. And then when they're fully healed, I go on and revisit that event and think about it. I put a timer on it. I go like, okay, it will take me 6 months to get over this. I'm not going to think about it for 6 months. I'm not going to revisit it for 6 months. And after 6 months, I can look at it and have as much thinking as I want about it and as many emotions as I want. And usually after 6 months or however long I decide, it can be a week, it can be 2 days, I look at it and I'm like, okay, I now understand what happened there. I now understand that in this relationship I was suffocated. That's why I left. I now understand that this person did not mean to harm me, but was himself or herself in a bad situation, and they had to make the most out of the situation. I was just collateral damage. It wasn't directed at me. The intention was not to hurt me. And I was like, okay, it just was a bad situation. So you tend to see those things instead of firsthand impact. Try to avoid making and taking decisions right then and there. Okay, you subtract, you get rid of the situation as much as possible, but don't take decisions then and there. If it's, we tend to think that it's always clear cut, everything is always like super detailed, but we often do not see our blind spots and we don't understand the whole situation, and we can't because we are too emotionally involved. So that's why meditation is so good. It reminds you that you can become present and you can have a stop to all the emotions that are hurting you or distracting you. You can have a break from everything and you can restart your whole emotional well being. I do think that our emotional well being is directly proportional to our ability to understand and get over bad emotions and situations, to how fast we are able to understand our own emotions and overcome the struggles and the bad and awful situations that we were in, how fast we can get rid of anger, of frustration, of anxiety, of all of these emotions that are very, very intense. Rage. I've seen people hold on for 10 years for a small little thing that someone did. It wasn't even intentional. And 10 years later, they keep on sending them death threats, and they're, it's so bad. It's, they just can't help it. They cannot get rid, they feel trapped by their own emotions. And they just live this constant rage because they keep on holding to it, holding this emotion with their hands, with their teeth, with everything they have. They're like, this is my emotion. They don't only embody it, but they identify with it to such an extent they do not see that they are truly doing it to themselves. Because to live a traumatic experience once again, or a very intense rage or revenge for 10 years, it just doesn't really help you at all with your emotional and mental stability. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.